The Kidnapper episode of Tales from the Crypt stands out as a study in human obsession and moral collapse. It begins with a deceptively simple premise. A man kidnaps a woman. Yet, from the first frame, it's evident that the story is about far more than crime. It's a meditation on power, loneliness, and the illusions people build to justify cruelty. The episode opens with a car winding through a desolate road at dusk. The landscape feels empty, echoing the kidnapper's isolation. When he takes his victim, the act feels less like a calculated crime and more like a desperate attempt to create meaning. The cinematography, with its muted tones and oppressive close-ups, gives the sense that we are trapped in his fractured mind. The house where most of the episode unfolds becomes a psychological labyrinth. It's filled with relics of normal life, a radio, a photograph, a half-eaten meal that feel grotesquely out of place. These details add realism while hinting at the inner decay of the man who occupies the space. As the tension builds, the victim slowly begins to understand the nature of her captor's delusion. He believes he's not a villain but a misunderstood man trying to reclaim something lost. That belief becomes his downfall. The brilliance of Kidnapper lies in how it refuses to draw clear moral lines. It challenges viewers to confront empathy in uncomfortable places. We see fragments of humanity in the kidnapper's moments of confusion, his childlike attempts to connect, and his eventual unraveling. But that empathy curdles as we realize the cost of his need for control. Every scene seems to breathe, thick with unspoken fear. The lighting flickers between intimacy and menace, making even quiet dialogue scenes feel dangerous. The victim's growing defiance mirrors the crumbling authority of her captor. There's an almost theatrical rhythm to their interactions, a dance of predator and prey where roles threaten to reverse at any moment. What makes this story memorable is not the shock of violence, but the subtle evolution of emotion. Fear turns into pity, pity into contempt, and finally into survival instinct. The final moments are unforgettable. The kidnapper, cornered by his own obsession, faces poetic justice. It's not a twist for shock's sake. It's the inevitable consequence of emotional blindness. Tales from the Crypt always had a knack for moral irony, and Kidnapper embodies that perfectly. The Crypt Keeper's closing lines remind us that cruelty disguised as love is the oldest horror of all. Watching this episode, I found myself thinking about how people cling to illusions of control in their own lives. The kidnapper's house felt symbolic of that. Each locked door, each boarded window a metaphor for self-imposed isolation. His crime was less about domination and more about fear of being forgotten. That's what makes it so tragic. The story lingers long after it ends because it exposes something uncomfortably real. The human need to be seen, even if it means destroying others in the process. I couldn't help but think of real cases of captivity where the perpetrator's motivations weren't rooted in greed, but in a fractured longing for connection. Kidnapper takes that concept and turns it into dark art. The episode manages to be both horrifying and sorrowful, a mirror reflecting what happens when love becomes a form of imprisonment. Its genius lies in its restraint. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers, and that whisper echoes in the mind long after the screen fades to black.